Hello and welcome to our 50th session, and in this session we are going to work with scores. This prototype is all about the user interface or UI, and one of the most common elements game's UI is the score display. A game is just a lot more fun when you can tell what your score is. So by the end of this session, the score will be displayed on the screen, increasing as the game progresses. UI elements like the score display works a little differently than anything we have done up to this point. We can't just position it wherever you want it in your screen like you might do it with a 3D model. The text has to magically stay on top of everything else at the same position on the screen, regardless of the camera's position or even the size of your game view window. To achieve this, we will use something in Unity called as the canvas. The canvas is this gigantic rectangle that you can see in scene view, which represents the screen display. And we will use the canvas to make our score display look great. How are we going to do it? For that, let's dive into Unity. As usual, let us start by launching Unity Hub. Now come into the project, and we can start with our UI_prototype03 project which we had completed in our previous session. But if you doesn't have this project files, do not worry, come into the new project, and in the template see that SRP Universal 3D is selected. In the project name, I am now going to call this as UI_prototype4, and in eUnity project I will click on create project. Now as the project is getting loaded, if you come into the YouTube video page or in your e-learning page, if you scroll down, in the description if you click on more and if you scroll down, you are provided with a Patreon link. Click on this Patreon link to open it. This will bring you to the Junior Programmer Series Patreon page. Scroll down and you are provided with a file 50_UI score start.unity package. Click on this to download it. If required, download Sartvic_layout.wlt file also. Once Unity is launched, come into the project window and select this Readme file, and in the inspector URPMT template, you have this remove Readme assets. Click on this, and in the confirmation window, click on proceed. Now in the project window, you have this input system_action. We don't need this file. You can right click and choose delete, and in the confirmation window, click on delete. If the screen window doesn't match what you are seeing here, then on the right hand side, click here in the layout panel and choose Sartvic. If Sartvic layout is not available, go to load layout from file, browse to your download folder and select Sartvic_layout.wlt file and click on open. Now the layout you are seeing on the video and the layout in your Unity program will be the same. Come into the project window, asset, right click and choose import package, custom package. Now in the download package, you just now downloaded 50_UI_score start Unity package. Select it and click on open. And in the import Unity package, click on all and click on the import button. Come into the project window, open scenes and double click UI_prototype to open this scene. Select sample scene, right click and choose delete, and in the confirmation window, click on delete. Now come into the hierarchy, select the background, just double click on it. Come into the scene view, press alt and turn around. You are seeing the front view, and I will come into this 2D and I will enable 2D view. Once we have imported our asset, one thing that will be missing in the asset is the tags and the layers. So in our previous session, if you come into the layer, we had added a layer called target layer, and you can see that the target layer is missing. I have to again click here, add layer, come into user layer 3, and I am going to type target layer. Then I will come into the project, I will open my prefab, select bad one, with shift clicked, I select till this good 3. All the 5 are selected. I will come into the layer and see that the target layer is selected. Also, I will come into the GameManager and I will see that the target layer is attached here. Let us keep our borders on left and right with a plain color. I will come into the hierarchy. You have the border game object. If I open it, you have the left border. Come into the project window, open course library and material. Drag the border color and attach it to this left border. Then I will drag this border color to the right border also. To add our text or any UI element in our scene, the first thing we need to add is the canvas. So I will come into the hierarchy, right click, and I will come into UI and I am going to click on canvas, and I am going to call this canvas as UI canvas. As soon as a canvas is added, an event system is added along with it. In this canvas, if I just double click on it, you can see this is a huge rectangle, and this rectangle depends upon our screen size. Now in the game view and in the free aspect, I will choose this full HD 1920 by 1080, and if I now double click this, see, based on the screen size that I am using, this canvas is going to change. Or otherwise, if I come here and if I choose the mobile vertical 1080 by 1920, just again double click on this, you can see that it appears vertical. So this layout of the canvas depends upon our screen size. So in the game, I will come back here and I will select full HD 1920 by 1080. Now in this canvas, I will come into UI canvas, right click, and I will come into UI element, and I am going to add this TextMeshPro. You will see this TMP, which stands for TextMeshPro Importer, and I have to click on Import TMP Essentials. So all this library will be imported into your project. If required, click on Import TMP Examples and Extras. It is not compulsorily required. Close the TMP importer. Now coming into this text TMP, I will press F2 and I am going to call this as core text. And if you come into the inspector, you can see all the available parameter for the score text. And you can see in the game view, you are seeing new text appearing at the center of the screen. I will come into text input and I am going to change this to score, and I will add a colon. I want this to be placed at the top left corner. I can manually move it by coming into this rect transform, or if I just push it out like this, see, I can move it to the left, or I can move it to the top here like this. And the best way to align it correctly is you can use this align tool on the left. I will press Alt on the keyboard, click on this align icon, and I will choose top left. Now you can see that the score window is aligned to the top west, and along the y axis, instead of -25, I will move it by around -100. I will just drag it and move it to the left a little like this. And if I want to change the font here, I can come into the font asset, and if I click here on the arrow, you have different fonts available here. For example, here I will choose a indie flower font and I will close it. And then you have the font size, which is set to 36. I will make it 48. You can also change the color of this code. I can click on this vertex color. I can even select a green color and give it a green color like this. And you can adjust the alignment. It is aligned to the top and to the left. Our score is displayed on the screen, but we want it to be updated as the game runs, and this is done using code. So I will come into the project window, close course library and my prefab, open script, and I am going to select the GameManager script for this. Double click to open it. If it asks to trust the author, click on yes, I trust the author. After we declared private input action, position action, after this I will press enter. I will add 2 forward slashes, variable to hold the TextMeshPro component for the score. I am now going to declare a public, and the type of this variable is, I will type TextMeshPro. You can see here there are 2 types of components, TextMeshPro and TextMeshPro UGUI. If you are using TextMeshPro in your 3D, then you can use this TextMeshPro. But if you are using it in your canvas, then we use this TextMeshPro UGUI. So if I click on this, and as soon as I add this, if you come to the top, we'll see using TM Pro is added. Now coming back, I will press space, and I am now going to call this as core text and end it with semicolon. I also want to declare an integer to keep up my score. So I will press enter, and I will keep this private, and type of variable is integer, and I am going to call this as score and end it with semicolon. As soon as my game starts, I will come into the start here. I am going to declare my score value to be equal to 0 and end it with semicolon. Then I will press enter and I will call this score text period and I will call the text component of it and I will set it equal to, and the inverted comma I will add score colon and a space, and I will come out of the inverted comma, add plus, and I will call my variable score and end it with semicolon. If I go to file and save it, I will come back to Unity, allow the script to compile. If I come here into my game manager now, you have a new parameter here, score text, and I am going to select the score text in my UI canvas and attach it to this. If I come to file and if I save it and if I execute the game and if I check it, see now you can see score is equal to 0. This score, when I click on this object and when I destroy it, it has to get updated. So I will stop the playback. In the script, I will select Game Manager, double click to open it. Now in this script, we had previously added this score and score text update in the start code block. I am going to create a new method and the function of this method is to update the score. I will select both these lines in the start and I will delete it in the start coding block. Then if I scroll down, I will come after this handle tap or click code block. After this closing flower bracket, I press enter twice and I will declare a new public void function and I will call this as update score. I will add open close bracket and for this I am going to add a parameter and the type of this parameter, it is an integer, and I am going to call this as score to add. I will come out of this bracket, press enter, add open close flower bracket, and inside this flower bracket now I am now going to set my score plus equal to this score to add. Whatever will be my score, to that this score to add will be added, end it with semicolon. Then I will call my score text now and I will set it equal to, in inverted comma, I will add score colon and a space and come out of this inverted comma and press space, add plus, and I am going to call this variable score and end it with semicolon. Okay, you are seeing the red mark here because I cannot attach this value directly to score text. I have to add period and I have to call the text component. This text component should be equal to this value. Now this update score function, where are we going to call and add the score? Actually in our game, in this function handle tap or click, when you click on the object and when the object gets destroyed, where it is getting destroyed, in this if target is not equal to null, Target.OnHit, this is the place where it is getting destroyed. So this is the point where I can call this update score. However, instead of calling it here, I will call it inside the Target.OnHit function. So I will come back to targets.cs and here I will come to this public void onHit function and you had this destroy game object already declared here, and above this I am now going to call my game manager period. Since game manager is a singleton script, I can directly call it without adding any game object reference. I will then call my instance and in this instance I have my update score, add open close bracket and end it with semicolon, and inside this update score right now I will update it by a value of 1. I will go to file and save it. Now coming back to GameManager.cs, I will scroll up and in the start block I will add back the two lines. First line is score is equal to 0, end it with semicolon. Then score text period, the text component is equal to, in inverted comma, score colon space, and I am going to add plus and I will add score and end it with semicolon. If I come to file and save both the files here, come back to Unity, allow the script to compile, and now if I play the game and if I check it, see initially the score is set to 0 and now as the spanning happens, when I click on the object, see the score value is increasing. I will stop the playback. But here when the spanning is happening, different objects should give me different values. For example, if I click on bomb or on the skull, which are bad objects, my score should decrease or I should have a negative value, but I should get positive value for other objects. One of the way to achieve this is I can come into my project panel, open my prefab, and for bad one I can come up and add a tag like bad one. For bad 2 I can add a different tag. Good one I will add a different tag. So giving different tags to these 5 prefabs, I can then come into my script, target script, double click to open it. If I scroll down in this onHit function, I can add a if condition and compare the tag. And for every tag, I can update the score by different values. But the simplest way of achieving this idea is I can come to the top. After this y-span position variable, I will press enter, add 2 forward slashes, variable to hold the values of different panning objects. I will press enter and I will declare a new public. Type of variable is integer and I will call this as PointValue and I will set its initial value to 0 and end it with semicolon. Now if I scroll down, I can come here in my onHit function and in this GameManager instance UpdateScore, instead of number 1, here I am going to call my variable PointValue. I will go to file and save it. Now come back to Unity, allow the script to compile, come into your prefab and select bad one. And in the inspector, if you scroll down, you have the point value here. I will set a point value of -2, -2. And for bad 2, I will come into inspector and I will set its negative value to -5. For good one, I will set the value to 1. For good 2, I will set the value something like 3, and for good 3, I will set the value here to 5. I will come to file, save it, and now if I execute the game and if I check it, so now initially the score is 0. Now when this object is spanned, see I got 5 points. And if I get a different object for skull, see 2 points got minus. For this I got 1 point, and for this I get 5 points, and if I click on the bomb, I lost 5 points. So now I will stop the playback. Now one last thing that we want to add here is particle effects. Now if you come into your asset, I will close my prefabs and open course library. I will close materials, and if I open particles, you have different particles here. When I destroy the object, I want this explosion or this particle to be played. I am going to now come into my targets file, double click to open it. I will come into my target.cs and after this point value declaration, press enter, add 2 forward slashes, variable to hold particle system reference. And I am going to declare a new public. The type of variable now is particle system. I will press space and I will call this as explosion particle and end it with semicolon. I am going to call this particle system here in onHit. After updating the value, before destroying the object, I will press enter and I am going to now call the function Instantiate. Add open close bracket and end it with semicolon, and you already know instantiate needs 3 values. One is which is the prefab it has to instantiate. Here it is the explosion particle, comma, its position, I will give the current position, transform.position, comma, and rotation, I will call my explosion particle, period, I will call its transform and period rotation. Now I will come to file and I am going to save this. Now come back to Unity, allow the script to compile. If you open my prefab, I select the bad one, and if you scroll down, you have a new parameter here, explosion particle. Now for example, for the skull, I am going to drag explosion brown and attach it to my skull. I select bad 2, scroll down, I am going to attach explosion black. Then for good 1, I am going to scroll down and I am going to attach the orange color. Then for good 2, I am going to drag and attach the red color. Finally, for good 3, I am going to drag and attach the green color. With this, if I come to file, save this, and if I now execute the game and if I check it, as the game starts, so now when it spans, when I click on this, see, you can see the particle effect. See, for this, I get a black explosion. This has brown, this has green, this has red. And you can also see how the score is getting updated based on the object that I am hitting. I will stop the playback. So with this, we are going to conclude this session. And as of now, our game is playing continuously, and our next mission is to add a game over screen and bring a conclusion to our game, and this we are going to achieve it in our next session.